So I feel like we as a society often talk about coming out when you're gay or bisexual or pansexual or whatever, but it's very rare that we talk about coming out as an ace person. And I think that's such a disservice to ace people, because ace people have such a weird relationship with coming out. A lot of times when ace people come out, we usually don't have such a violent reaction as gay people. I think if you come out as gay nowadays, it's more okay than not, but a lot of times it'll get very violent very quickly. People will get kicked out. Conversion therapy is a real thing. People get mad, but they accept it more often. You know, their brain, they're not saying, oh my God, but gay people don't exist. Like, that's not real. You can't actually be gay. It doesn't make sense, you know? It makes sense to people. They're just mad about it. Whereas with ace people, we have the double-edged sword of people being upset, and also they don't believe us. Most of the time when ace people come out, if it's a bad experience, it's something along the lines of, I didn't think those people actually existed. Isn't that what plants do? I don't believe you. You've never had sex. How do you know you're asexual? Don't worry, one day you'll find your person. You won't have to be asexual forever, you know? And that can be super harmful. I will say it's not the same as if somebody gets very violent and kicks you out of your house. I totally understand the difference. But I think by not talking about this kind of ace experience of coming out, it makes it really hard for new ace people, whether you're a teenager or 30 or 50 or whatever, to understand how people are going to react when they come out. I had a very unconventional coming out experience. I basically told my parents in an email, and I also came out first on the internet, and then I published a book about being asexual. So I haven't had a lot of like personal one-on-one coming outs with anybody. Most of the time, if I come out to somebody, it's with a friend who I really have known for a while, or it's on a dating app where I just like accidentally talked to somebody and they figured out I was ace, you know? And so most of the time my experiences with coming out have been few and far between, and they have been overall positive, and I haven't really had an experience where I'm sitting down with somebody and they're like, I don't think you exist, you know? So that's really great for me. Good job, Jenna. But I know there are a lot of people who struggle with coming out because it either doesn't feel like the right time, or they're afraid because people won't believe them, you know? One of the things to keep in mind when you're coming out, whether you're coming out as ace or any other sexuality, is you don't have to. I know a lot of times it can be helpful and it can make you feel better to come out, and maybe you feel convicted to actually tell somebody who you are. And so coming out is great, it's wonderful. But if you're in a tight spot, if you feel unsafe, if you're not ready to come out yet, maybe you don't even know who you are yet, don't feel pressured to come out just because other people are out. Make sure that you take care of yourself. Take the time to do your research, to understand what's going on with you, maybe even talk to a counselor to have them help you through this situation. But if you're at a spot where you're like really interested in coming out and you feel that hope that you're like, maybe they'll accept me, maybe it'll be better if I come out, have faith that like it can be okay. Now, be prepared because it can get very, very dicey and very, very difficult. Coming out in general is a very personal experience, and it can be very, very hard. And so one way you can prepare for that, I guess, is read other coming out stories, whether that's for a gay person coming out or an ace person. There are a couple books like that out there. But I think the biggest thing to keep in mind as an ace person coming out is you need to be prepared to educate the person you're talking to. A lot of people who get mad at people for coming out about being asexual just don't understand it. Maybe they don't think it exists. Maybe they think you will find somebody someday who will change your mind. Any of those types of situations, it's usually because people don't understand what it's like to be asexual. So my biggest piece of advice for you, if you're coming out, if you're scared, if you are talking to somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with asexuality, have the research, you know, whether that means you bring them a book or you have a list printed out of some facts, you know, or even if you just know in your head, like, okay, I have to explain to them, like, this is asexuality, this is what it's like to have a romantic attraction, like, I'm talking about my interest in sex, am I sex repulsed, sex positive, whatever, like, how do I explain this in the best way? Keep in mind that they will be very confused. Often when I'm in a weird relationship with somebody and I'm coming out to them, usually they're just very lost and they don't know what to do with the information. So if you can take that time to step back and be patient with them and remember that they might be learning this all for the first time. Maybe they have never heard about asexuality. Maybe they just don't know what's going on. You can take a moment to step back and actually help them out and help them to understand. The other thing you should keep in mind is that people might get angry. And so that is why it's important to be safe, to have people maybe with you at the time, but at least somebody you can call just in case something really bad happens. But people do get angry when you're not living in the heteronormative lifestyle. Be cautious, be very aware of the person you're talking to and what could happen. Most of the time, I'm hoping it's going to be good. I'm hoping that people will not be mean to you just because you're ace, but the truth is, like, it happens more often than not that it could be really bad. And again, don't feel like you have to come out. You don't have to come out until you're ready. Take the time to make sure that you are ready, and understand that you're still loved. You can still be a part of this community even if you're not out on the internet, you know? The other reason I think coming out can be difficult as an ace person is because most of the time we're not bringing somebody home. I think if you're coming out as gay to your parents, it's like, I want you to know I'm bringing home somebody who isn't heteronormative, you know? Versus an ace person who is like, I'm never bringing anybody home, Mom. I'm never gonna have kids. I'm never gonna get married, and here's why, you know? I don't necessarily talk about my sex life very often to anybody, and so I never felt there was a reason for me to like fully have a big coming out thing, because it's not a thing that I talk about, and like, I'm okay personally not having that side of my life really discussed with my family. But I can understand why you would need to or want to. I think overall it's just important to give your people grace and to understand that it might take them some time, but hopefully at one point they will come around and they will understand that, like, this is who you are